Hello, and welcome to the Clear Voice, brought to you by Clear Career Professionals. This week, our president, Michael Bays, is sitting in with us. Michael, welcome to the show again.
Happy to be here, James.
What are we talking about today, Mike?
Well, this particular story is something that I know both you and I have deep values for. The work that they do and the impact that they have on communities is so significant. But a few months ago, we partnered with the Crisis Center, and we were looking for a training coordinator for them. And as we've been recruiting for that position, we really had a chance to talk with the staff and kind of understand more and more about their passion for helping victims and really assisting communities through not only crime prevention, but also just understanding the impact of crime on victims and the overall community. We wanted to bring on our guest today to talk not only about the training coordinator position that's still open and available, but also how important what their work is and really try to highlight the awesome things that are happening at this organization.
Yeah, they definitely are critical services that fortunately not many people even know exist. So educating them a little bit about it today will be exciting. So joining us is Brittany Matthews with the Crisis Center, and the Crisis Center serves Matagorda and Wharton County. And we also have Lieutenant Chris Haddish with the Bay City Police Department, who serves not only as his role inside the police department, but he serves on the board as the law enforcement liaison for the Crisis Center. Chris and Brittany, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Happy to be here.
I think the first place that we need to start is just explaining what a child advocacy center does for the people that don't know and what services you guys provide down there.
Yeah, sure. So our Children's Advocacy Center is actually a program, a part of the Crisis Center. We like to think of it as a safe, focused, neutral place where children can come who may have experienced some type of abuse, and we offer a variety of services. We also serve as kind of a hub for our multidisciplinary team partners, kind of bringing all of the key players under one roof: law enforcement, CPS, prosecutors, medical, mental health, victim advocates, so that we're working as a team and not in isolation. We can help our partners by providing services such as forensic interviews, advocacy, facilitating case review, streamlining communication. We can also coordinate essential services like medical forensic exams, just making sure that we ensure families are connected to counseling and just ongoing services and community resources.
The value that they're adding to law enforcement is amazing. I don't think that we could afford to replace what they're doing for us. The services that they provide are not only outstanding and much needed for the survivors of the abuse, but it takes so much workload and so much pressure off of law enforcement because they're not only arranging these things and working with us, but they're taking tasks that we wouldn't do as well, or we couldn't do at all because we don't have the resources. And we rely on them so much for things like this. It's a blessing to have, not only to have a CHC and a crisis center, but to have one as effective as the one in Matagorda County, Bay City.
I think both of you guys are not old enough to know what it was like in law enforcement before CACs started coming around, but can you kind of explain maybe why what you're offering is much better than what was done before?
I do work with quite a few partners that were here before our center actually wasn't established till 2012 here in this area. Law enforcement was doing their investigation. CPS was doing their investigation. Children were being interviewed multiple times over and over, re-traumatizing them. They were being interviewed in environments like police stations, just kind of intimidating or unsafe environments. And it was just delaying the process. And like I said, re-traumatizing children. So the CAC model kind of puts children at the center and allows law enforcement and CPS to use us kind of, like I said, as that central hub to come and get that forensic interview, to come and get services that are coordinated and trauma-informed. The investigation is so important, but the healing and justice for these children and their families are the priority.
And you guys offer training and outreach programs for schools, churches, and community groups. What kind of training are you doing out there in the community?
Yeah, we provide a lot of prevention and awareness trainings, and we really try to tailor them to the audience that is requesting from us. For example, we do a lot of trainings in schools specifically for teachers. The training is called Recognize and Report. And it's specifically for teachers and school administrators on what they can look for in that school setting, and then how they can recognize it and then go and make a report. And then the importance of mandatory reporting. How long do you have to report? We've just had some new legislation passed that now, instead of 48 hours, you need to report within 24 hours. But we want to make sure that all of our schools and teachers are aware of things like that. We also do a lot of training. Last year, we trained all of the daycare centers between Matagorda and Wharton County on Recognize and Report. This year, we're focusing on daycare centers and Mother's Day Out programs in churches. And then we're also reaching out to the transportation departments in schools to train our bus drivers. Something that we're also really excited about is a new initiative that the Children's Advocacy Centers of Texas is putting on, where we're going to be partnering with pediatricians and family care doctors in our area to help train them on how to talk to parents and how to educate parents on, most importantly, prevention of child sexual abuse, but also recognizing the signs in their own children. So we really get out there. Anybody that requests training from us, it could be a civic organization or group. We've gone to salons in the area and talked to them about recognizing and reporting. Whoever wants to listen, we train them.
About a lot of those trainings just from being on the board with the crisis center that are done outside of law enforcement, but just speaking more focused on law enforcement. Provide us with the trauma-informed response training, which has made a huge difference in how our officers are taking initial reports and the kind of that golden hour of being able to gather information, but do it in a way that doesn't negatively impact the survivor that's reporting abuse. They've also developed some training for our newer officers as type of introduction to what the crisis center actually does, the services that they provide, and gives an opportunity for some face time where they get to know the people of the crisis center. The crisis center gets to know the officers. They've done a really great job of bridging the gap between law enforcement and the advocates in the crisis center. And I can tell you that we have a great working relationship. Officers rely very heavily on the services provided by the crisis center. They hand out information and pamphlets to people. Call advocates regularly. It's almost one of the first things they do because they know not only it adds a tremendous amount of assistance and support for the survivor, but it's taken a task, a workload that they would need to fill and given it to someone that they recognize even is more qualified to do it and is going to do a better job with that particular survivor. The training is outstanding.
And the training coordinator that we are looking for would be a part of that law enforcement training, and they would be able to help report their hours to TCOL, their credit hours to TCOL, because they get 3 hours of family violence training just from that introductory orientation. So that would be something we're looking to loop this new person in on.
And training is very important across all kinds of industries, and especially what you guys are doing, not only with the law enforcement side of it, but the community side is very impactful. Chris, you might have the best thoughts on this. Can you tell me how much easier your job is when a crime has occurred? How important is that for the community to realize that they need to make that report in a timely manner? How much easier does that make your job?
The first thing for a timely investigation is just the amount of time that we are limited when it comes to any kind of forensic testing and things like that.
You have like 120-hour window to get that forensic medical exam. That's one of, when we do orientation with law enforcement, that's one of the things we talk about. And now it's kind of just like, it feels like it's their protocol now, like it's part of their procedure. They know that when one of these, even a family violence crime, we can do medical exams for those, the importance of the forensic nurse's testimony in those cases. Without that in that really quick window, you're missing so much. You've already kind of put yourself at a disadvantage as an investigator for that investigation. I think we've done really good at working together and making sure that law enforcement knows how to call, who to call, and that our response time is pretty good.
The response time is outstanding. Whenever we have someone come in, if they come into the emergency room or if they come into the police department and they're reporting any type of sexual abuse or or even physical abuse of a child or an adult. Like I said, that's one of the first things that the officers do is have dispatch contact an advocate, to have them come up, even if it's going to be just to the extent of coming up there and sitting with them and talking with them more about what the crisis center offers and what they can do. If we're going to do any kind of a forensic interview, if we're going to do any kind of SANE or anything like that, the crisis center, again, steps in, assists greatly, freeing up the officer, the investigator, to start looking into where is the suspect, who is the suspect, to start going into the actual criminal investigation part of it. And I don't have to tell anyone in law enforcement how valuable that is, but to be able to immediately begin that while knowing that the survivor, the victim, is being taken care of at the same time, it's great.
And Brittany, while the law enforcement cases potentially going through the courts and all that process, and then even after that, you guys extend services or coordinate services for counseling and therapy for the victims. How important is that when we're looking at the life of a victim and recovering from this as much as they can and not continuing to be a victim?
Right. Yeah. Trauma isn't something that, just lasts a couple days after you were abused or assaulted. Trauma is something that our survivors are dealing with for the rest of their life. And our services don't have a time limit. So if you are referred to us, you can get counseling. You can work with the counselor until you and the counselor decide that you're ready to move on. We provide just ongoing crisis intervention through our advocates. They kind of work as like case managers with their individual survivors. They can come here and they can get assistance with utilities. They can apply for housing. We can help them with job searching. Our families, even the caregivers, can get these, non-offending caregivers can get these services too. Court accompaniment. When they're ready to go to court, we're going to have an advocate go to court with them. We just finished a case that happened in 2018, just now went to court. So just imagine the kind of ongoing trauma that a survivor is feeling, or even when they feel like they're at a place where maybe they're getting better, but now it's time to go back to court. So I think being able to offer these services ongoing is very important.
I agree. I think that makes a huge difference for the survivors. We were talking earlier about what law enforcement was like before crisis centers and CACs really started playing a major role. And even in 2001, when I started in law enforcement, we didn't have any of this. We didn't have CACs. We didn't have the crisis center stepping up into a role like this where they're helping with training and providing all these services. And some of the first investigations that I did, we had to do the forensic interviews, or we had to travel to another county to get a forensic interview done. We were transporting, survivors of sexual assault to SANE exams. We were doing all these things ourselves. And then we had no real training, no real way to provide them with anything at all other than a law enforcement service. And so for the crisis center to be able to provide us with the advocates and with the assistance in those areas, you could see the difference in how the survivor reacts and how they progress throughout the case. Their mental state, their ability to handle it is so much better because they have that advocate, they have that person that is just solely focused on that. Without the crisis center, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it sounds like they're picking up a huge need down there, so it's very important and helpful. Brittany mentioned earlier that you guys are looking for a training coordinator. Can you kind of talk about what this role would be doing on a day-to-day, what their responsibilities are, and why it's important for the center to fill this role?
Yeah, so the training coordinator is going to deliver trainings on child abuse, sexual assault, and domestic violence response. They would be in charge of developing curriculums, scheduling sessions, staying up to date on best practices, making sure they're up to date on certain certifications. We want to be able to provide the sexual assault training program. It's a 40-hour course. We also want to be able to provide trainings like civic, which is sexual assault and family violence investigator course. And then a lot of outreach, a lot of going, visiting different agencies and organizations, a lot of focus on our law enforcement partners, going and visiting with their training coordinators, their upper management on the importance of these trainings and on making sure that all of their staff is up to date on best practices with victims. We really believe when partners are better trained, that survivors are getting better services. So whether it's, EMS, somebody within dispatch handling a call, the patrol officer that is the first person on the scene, we want to make sure that we are giving those opportunities to all of our partners in all of our communities that we work with.
It's very important training, but it's also important to recognize like the audience. So we're looking to deliver this training to police officers and people in law enforcement. And I know that whenever I first came to Bay City and got involved in criminal investigations here, our current executive director at the time was working out of Brazoria County, and she was arranging and putting on law enforcement trainings like advanced child abuse classes, civic, the higher level trainings in this field. And she was bringing in established experts, investigators, administrators who had experience investigating crimes against children, investigating sexual assaults. And they were subject matter experts teaching law enforcement. They were law enforcement subject matter experts. Those classes drew large crowds because there's a lack of that type of training on that level in this area. And so I think that the goal when we set out to do this was to find someone with that experience that's going to bring that level of legitimacy so that whenever the officers attend those classes, they look at that as someone that they can ask questions, that they can get information from, that they can use as a resource in the future, and that they're gonna trust for that information. And so that I think that's one of our main goals of trying to find someone that's already involved in law enforcement or has reached a point in their career where they're ready to step into a role like this.
I agree. I think it's important for our officers to hear from someone with a background in it who's done it before. A lot of times it's our staff going and giving these like orientation trainings, and I'm happy to do them, but I think that the information would be better communicated and the education would just be better when it's coming from someone who's actually been in law enforcement and, investigated child abuse cases, investigated family violence cases, worked with victims in that capacity before.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen the model of like when I was talking about the classes that I attended in Brazoria County, that model, I can tell you that it works. I can tell you that I signed up for those trainings because I saw the names of the people and the brief background of the people that were putting the classes on and teaching them. And that it immediately lended legitimacy to the course because it was someone that they'd walk the walk and now they can talk the talk and they can really answer questions when I have them and things like that from a law enforcement perspective and not just the crisis center side. And it has not taken anything away from the training that the crisis center has been providing. They've been doing a very good job with the trauma-informed response and things like that. But law enforcement is just is a particular crowd, and they want to be taught by law enforcement.
Well, Chris, if you jump in for a second, just to say that as we've been kind of doing this recruitment for the past couple months, really what we've been trying to communicate is the ability to have a significant impact for those people who have been in their law enforcement career for a little while and have gained that knowledge and experience and, really have the ability. And I think really for this particular role, just the passion to get out and continue to have that positive impact. I think everybody really wants to understand, what their contribution is going to be. And so I don't know if Brittany or Chris can talk a little bit about that, but, at the end of the day, how vital of an impact do you feel like this is going to have on your team? And at the ultimate goal is having the positive impact on the victims.
So I think from the law enforcement perspective, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair here right now if I hadn't attended those trainings. I would not have gotten as heavily involved in working cases like this. I actually became the primary crimes against children investigator and the primary sexual assault investigator for about 5 years until I promoted and someone else took over that role. The people that promoted and took over that role also went to this training. And it also led to me joining the board here at the Crisis Center and getting heavily involved with their mission. I think that without that training, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at. So what I would like to see is if we can get somebody in this role that can influence people the way that I was influenced, train people the way that I was trained, there's going to be someone like me who's going to step up into these roles and get heavily involved and want to work alongside the crisis center and want to be there for the survivors and want to provide the high level type of investigation that's necessary for these roles. It can't just be something that, well, who's going to do it this year, or whose turn is it to be the crimes against children investigator or something like that. If someone has a high level of training in it and they feel confident in it and they feel like that they are doing a good job and they're working well with the crisis center, then they're going to stay in that role longer. They're going to get more experience. They're going to get better at it. And that is good for the department. That's good for the crisis center, but it is amazing for the survivor, because there's nothing that law enforcement can do better for them and for other people that could be victims than to stop the person that committed the crime in the first place. And so I would really like to bring someone in that is passionate about this, that has experience in this, that can not only give our officers a higher level of training in this area, but also maybe to find that next person to step in that role for their department, to be there for the survivors, to investigate these types of crimes, and also to work well with the crisis center and be that contact point with the crisis center.
I agree. And I think when it comes to the impact on the community, that when law enforcement works in conjunction with the crisis center, it's amazing. Like when we have community events and people see that law enforcement is there supporting what we do and supporting awareness and what survivors have been through, it's such a big deal. We have a shelter in an undisclosed location, and we have an event where law enforcement comes out for Halloween, and they participate in kind of like a little safe trick or treat. You have to understand that a lot of kids in this situation, they probably haven't seen law enforcement and what, from their point of view, has been a positive experience, right? And I think for children, for women, for men, everybody in our community, seeing law enforcement take part in events like this, seeing a professional, passionate person going out with law enforcement experience, talking to not only law enforcement, but these community groups, I think it's going to have an amazing positive impact on just the way people view abuse, awareness, and prevention in our community.
What kind of qualities are you looking for or experiences in the person that would be coming down to fill this role?
For law enforcement, definitely want to see somebody that has experience investigating sexual assaults, crimes against children. At the very least, strong investigative skills and maybe a connection. They're a part of their local CAC, or they volunteer there, or they're involved in that mission somehow, and have some experience with the investigative side of it. Definitely somebody that is a good speaker, someone that is able to conduct trainings and is already maybe filling that role somewhere, doing training, even if it's not full time. But definitely someone comfortable training, someone comfortable speaking at events, someone that is going to be open to not only putting on some of the trainings, but also attending our various fundraisers and other events like that. And someone that can reach the officers on a higher level, on a peer level.
I think they're going to have to be really approachable, really outgoing, motivated, because the training, the people wanting the training at first aren't going to come to them. They're going to have to go to the agencies. They're going to have to go out and talk. They're going to have to go out and sell the trainings. And the hope is eventually, like Haddish said, that somebody will see that person's name, see that person's experience and what they've already done in the community or for these agencies, and they'll want to sign up. But I think at first they're going to have to really work and be outgoing and motivated.
And you guys may have to look outside of your local area for candidates. I've done a little bit of research and been impressed with some of the natural beauty and some of the, at least things that are posted online. But as you know, people that live down in that area, can you tell us, why somebody would be attracted to living down in that area?
I was born and raised in Bay City. It's a nice little town. We have good schools. All of our schools are fairly new. They're modern, and we have a great high school football team. If anybody's got a kid in high school or something, we also have every year consistently. We have the highest bird count in the United States. We've been recognized as the bird capital of Texas. If anybody's interested in nature, birding, hunting, fishing, we have all of that. It's the county itself only has about 42,000 people. We have a lot of coastline, 20 minutes from the beach. We have a lot of areas that are hunting lodges and things like that, if that's something that someone's interested in. Fairly close to larger metropolitan areas like Houston, Sugar Land, Rosenberg, if people are wanting to go get a larger shopping experience or something like that, right down the road from opportunities like that. It is a smaller town, but it's not a small town. If that makes sense, the population is about 18,000. Plenty of places to shop. We have plenty of places to eat. We have some great restaurants. We have a lot of the fast food restaurants, kind of that people like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and things like that. So we're not like a little podunk town, but we have the small town feel.
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty good.
El Campo and Wharton are nice places to live too.
Yes.
They're developing and growing. I still think they have a small town feel, but they're definitely have nice restaurants. El Campo has a Starbucks too.
They
got a new one.
Again, we talk about we're trying to provide some options. So we do have a Wharton location, and we have the Bay City location where someone could kind of take a look at, well, do I want to live in this area or this area? Then they could kind of pick one. And they're only 20 minutes from each other. It's not like it's a long drive, but we do service 2 counties, Wharton and Matagorda County. So there's an option there.
And the commute from like Fort Bend area would not be bad. Like the commute to Wharton, El Campo, and even Bay City wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, so Wharton and El Campo is just
30 minutes?
Maybe 30 minutes heading south on 59 from the Sugar Land, Rosenberg, Richmond area. So it's we're in a pretty good spot.
Nice places to live.
There are nice places to live. I'm not sure what Wharton and El Campo have going on. I know in Bay City we have 3 neighborhoods being built right now. They're all really high quality, brand new houses. A lot of opportunities in Bay City. There's a lot of growth right now. It's very nice. We also, in my opinion, have the best police department out of all the areas. We work very well with the other agencies. And I say that half jokingly. I know the administrators at the other departments, that everybody's actually really great in both counties. But I'm a little biased towards Bay City. So I would love to see someone work here in this office.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a little bit of everything. Michael, can you think of anything you're missing when you're 90 minutes away from NFL and major sports teams, and you're minutes away from the beach and hunting and fishing? I can't think of anything that'd be missing down there with the small town feel still.
The thing that I've been really impressed with is not only Chris and Brittany, but the staff that I've had a chance to talk with at the Crisis Center. Because ultimately, you're going to be part of a team. And really, in talking about this position, it's not just about your potential for impact or, what you're going to be doing on the outside, but also having that impact on an organization. I believe the sheriff's office is going to carry the T. Cole Commission for this position. And so you'll be able to maintain your license. But really just being able to work with a group of folks who have a similar mission, and when they go to work every day, knowing that they're making a difference. And so I think when we look for somebody out there for this role, and even more importantly, James, I really want our city manager listeners, our public safety folks, and just all of our cross-sectional municipal people to understand how important what the Crisis Center does and the CACs in their communities, making sure that we're always having an eye for this type of service and making sure that our communities understand the importance of really getting out and supporting the activities that they do.
Yeah, definitely. Before we wrap up here, Michael and I both in our respective careers have worked with child abuse victims, and we know how difficult that is. So I was just kind of curious from both of you guys, what drew you to this line of work and what keeps you motivated and hopeful in such a field?
For me personally, when I started, I will say that I did not have a full understanding of exactly what a children's advocacy center was. I started as a forensic interviewer about 10 years ago, and I quickly learned what kind of things that we would see on a daily basis. And it is hard, but I will say that when you work with survivors, their resilience, especially children, and their, ability to overcome things has been really inspiring to me to see what these children and these families are going through and how we can play an integral part of that is what motivates me every day. And you mentioned our staff working in an administrative role. That's one of the things that motivates me to come to work. We have an amazing staff. We have an amazing work environment. We have a really supportive board, and these people come to work every day. They are super passionate and they're also really care about one another. So that's what keeps me walking through the doors every day.
I think what started things for me, very, very young, very early age. I grew up in a family that we were a foster family. So we always had foster kids in and out of the house. That's how my mom gave back. My grandmother was a nurse. My brother is a police officer. My father is a police officer, now retired. And so I grew up in a family that was giving back to the community and doing things for other people. And so I carried that forward in my life. I knew at a young age that I wanted to get into law enforcement. And like many young officers, I wanted to chase people and fight and run around and do all that. And it wasn't until later in my career when I got into investigations, and particularly here in working for the Bay City Police Department. That's actually where I met Brittany. She was the forensic interviewer on, I couldn't tell you how many cases that we worked together where she did the forensic interview. At first, and this was after I had gone to some of these higher level trainings like civic and advanced child abuse and things like that. And I'd gotten comfortable with these types of cases. And I think that was important. That was an important step for me because we have so many officers that even just getting a call where they have to go and do anything with a sexual abuse of a child or some extreme physical abuse, they almost don't know where to start. But it's like that case is too big for them or it's too much. And they're worried about it or they're intimidated by it because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And so when I was being provided that level of training, I started passing some of that knowledge on to other officers and other detectives, encouraging them to go to these trainings. And over time, everybody got more and more comfortable with it. And then I got more and more involved with the Crisis Center, ended up on the board, and really started to push for the law enforcement community here to have a better relationship and letting them know that I had learned through training and experience with them that they are providing valuable services. They are taking work off of our plate and doing a better job than we would do. They are providing training that we need to better understand how to do this job and to be more comfortable with it. And just over time, I just continue to grow in my experience level and my comfort level with working these types of cases to the point where I was starting to see cases truly from beginning to end, not just from a law enforcement perspective, but from the crisis center perspective, where I still see some of the people that survive these cases coming back for additional services and that they're telling their story at some of our events, or they're talking to us about how important these things were for them, how important the services were, how important it was that law enforcement treated them well from beginning to end, how important it was that law enforcement brought in the crisis center. And in order for us to continue to do that and to do that at a high level, we got to have somebody come in and work permanently with our organization to continue to push that out, continue to push that training out, continue to get our officers comfortable with these types of cases, comfortable in their abilities, and to use the help that the crisis center is providing.
Brittany, it's clear that you guys have such an important mission down there. A lot of people may not know this, but CACs, you're a nonprofit and you're not necessarily taxpayer funded. There may be some grants and some other things. You guys rely on donations as well, and you have fundraisers. And how can somebody in that area get involved with you and the Crisis Center, or how can they help their local CAC in their own area if they're not local to you?
Yeah, we do receive both state and federal grants, but as many people know that there have been significant funding cuts to a lot of grants, and it has hit us as well pretty hard this year. So we do rely heavily on donations, whether that's through individual donors, foundations, or our fundraising. If you would like to donate, we do have a website, which is uw.crisiscnt.com. There's a donation tab there. We also have a fundraiser. Our biggest annual fundraiser is coming up. It is on January 16th of next year. And it is our annual chicken fried steak fundraiser and auction. There are sponsorship opportunities available. If you visit our website, you can get a direct link to the sponsorship opportunities. You can buy tickets or just learn more about the event. We do chicken fried steaks. We have a live auction. We have a silent auction. We have a DJ. It's a really fun event with good food to come to and just also learn more about the Crisis Center and what we do.
Michael had mentioned the audience of like a city management and things like that. And just to give them maybe a little bit better idea of what the value is, because a lot of times it does, not that money is the most important thing, but a lot of times things like this do come down to is there a monetary value to it? So in order for the Bay City Police Department, from my experience, to be able to replace what the crisis center is doing for us, we would need a full-time employee just to handle all these things. And when you're talking full-time employee at that type of level and adding in benefits and health insurance, so on and so forth, you're looking at six figures easily. And they're providing services to us for nothing. We don't pay them. They don't take anything from us. That's one of the reasons when I recognize that, that's why another reason why I'm passionate about giving my time, giving my work and my effort to helping them as an organization, helping them with their fundraising. And then you got to look at it too, as we're serving 2 counties. We have multiple law enforcement agencies in both counties, and every single one of them is benefiting in the same way, to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if there's any administrators out there that are listening, city management's listening, wondering why it's important to have your department involved in your local crisis center, in your local shelter, that's a really good reason. I give you 100,000 reasons right there why your agency needs to be heavily involved and cooperating with your crisis center.
Yes, definitely a good use of those grants, and community support is so important for the CACs. I don't know of any that don't have fundraisers and don't need donations of certain things. So definitely either reach out to the crisis center or somebody local in your area. They all have needs. Before we wrap up, I definitely need to ask if somebody's suspects child abuse or family violence going on. Can you guys kind of briefly tell them what they should be doing?
Yeah. So if you even have a belief that a child is being abused, in Texas, everybody's a mandatory reporter. So you're legally required to report it. So you can either call the Texas Child Abuse Hotline, which is 1-800-252-5400, or you can report online at www.dfps.texas.gov. There's a little red report abuse button that you can click. If you're in immediate danger, of course, you want to call 911. We also have a crisis hotline that is 24/7 that you can call and speak to a trained individual about family violence, sexual assault, child abuse. Our hotline is 1-800-451-9235. And again, it is 24/7. You can reach anyone, any time of day.
Michael, do you have anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to let folks know that we are still taking applications for this position. We really want to find the right individual who is going to be able to be a great partner for the crisis center and really be able to impact these communities. People can apply by sending their resume and cover letter to apply the crisis center at clearcareerpro.com, or just look at our website and our positions are listed there. But we really appreciate Brittany and Chris, you allowing us to be your partner in this search. And we really hope that we can continue that relationship, and anything we can do in the future to help what you guys do and your mission, please feel free to let us know.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for your help and your time today. We really appreciate it.
If there are any law enforcement professionals out there that are interested and they want to get, they have some questions, they want to get a little bit more of the law enforcement perspective, they're more than welcome to reach out and contact me either by email or phone. My email is chaddish@cityofbaycity.org. It's CHADASH @cityofbaycity.org. And the direct line on my desk is 979-323-1722. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions about this position.
Well, we're excited about you guys getting to fill that position. It sounds like it's much needed and will do some good down there. I want to thank both of you guys for your time. I appreciate it. Michael, I do volunteer to go down for the chicken fried steak fundraiser if Clear wants to send me, and I'll represent us well.
It's really a fun time, and the food's really good. Y'all should definitely come.
One quick thing to add, we have a new, I guess, a benefit that I don't know if it's been discussed too much. Our board recently took a look at some of the things that other agencies are doing, other crisis centers are doing in our area, and that's a 32-hour work week where someone can get a 40-hour paycheck for a 32-hour work week. So we now have this position will be included in that, where you'd be working 8 hours, 4 days a week, and still getting full benefits and a full check. like you would if you were working 40 hours. So it's another kind of little benefit if somebody wants to look at that.
And they'd be able to choose, this position would be able to choose which day they have off.
Yes.
Every week.
Well, I think we should have started with that because that changes it a lot for people.
We get a $100 self-care reimbursement every year, floating holiday, a mental health day, free counseling.
Pay time off. His job comes with full benefit.
Yeah, Brittany and Chris, my intention wasn't for you to recruit James to go down and work for you, but I can already tell he's kicking it around in his head there. But James, we definitely will try to make it down there. I was pretty shocked where she said that we're planning an event that was coming up and it's 2026, which you're right. I don't know what happened to 2025, but we'll definitely make an effort to be down.
It's a big fundraiser for us, and we like to we take a lot of time reaching out to like sponsors and corporate sponsors trying to get some money.
We're going to wrap it up. If you need to see this position or any of the other current recruitments that we have, check us out at www.clearcareerpro.com. And you can also check us out on LinkedIn. Thank you for your time and listening, and we will catch you next time.